G'day, we're the Presets.
And you're hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
You guys came back to the States, back to a festival. Life is Beautiful was last week.
Yeah.
What was that festival like for you guys? First time you guys do Life is Beautiful?
Yeah, it was. And it was amazing. I mean, all the festivals here in the States seem to be so big.
Yeah.
And there's LED everywhere, and there's gadgets and tricks and lights and smoke. And USA does festivals big.
Yeah.
So it's always pretty eye-opening when we check it out.
You guys are here promoting, we're on tour promoting the new record, Hi Viz. This is a long time in the making. Tell me, I mean, besides the process of creating this record, like, what kind of went on between Pacifica and Hi Viz?
Well, lots of life was lived,
Yeah.
and we worked quite a bit. Like, we're doing all sorts of different projects, and we did a really big project with an orchestra back home called the Australian Chamber Orchestra, which took up a good chunk of a year.
Yeah.
And we were working pretty consistently on material on and off.
Right.
But just things happen, life happens,
Right.
things get in the way, and we were really trying to stick it out to get a certain kind of material happening. Sometimes it just took, a little longer than we'd hoped, but we got there in the end.
Right, no, definitely. But, I mean, does that get to you guys too as well? Like, because it's been so long since the last record, and, obviously your fans want to see you guys live, and
Yeah.
they want to hear new music. But how does that impact you guys as the artist creating the music?
It is tricky. I mean, I won't lie. These days, a lot of bands, they'll put out singles or they'll put out EPs, and they're kind of always around. They've always got music out, and that seems to be the way bands operate now.
Right.
Whereas we have always sort of made whole albums, and we have breaks between albums. Kind of the dumbest way you can do it, in 2018.
But it's working.
I hope so. But certainly, yeah, when you're sort of sitting there and you've got an album half finished, and it's kind of all you're carrying in your head, and meanwhile, you're seeing all these other bands touring and putting out new songs, and you've got to have a real strong sort of constitution just to keep your eyes on the prize.
Right.
And but I'm glad we did.
Now, mentioning in your head, you've said many times that you tend to get in your head a lot. You tend to, think too much about what you're going to do. How much of that happened for this record, at least in the creative process?
Look, I don't know. It's a hard question for someone like us to answer. I mean, our process is our process, and also, your process changes from album to album. I think like every album that you make sort of informs the next album that you make. And the last album we made was, quite introspective and a little bit concepty, and it was a different kind of beast. And this album, we really wanted to set out about to make a really fun party record. And for a couple of introverts, that maybe is a little bit going against the grain. And so, I think music for us is a kind of meditation and a kind of therapy in itself. So, turning up to work and making music is a really good way to kind of just become present and get out of your head,
Right. Now, from Pacifica to now, music changed a lot. The genres changed a lot. What people are gravitating to changed a lot. Do you feel that affected you, at least your mindset, when you guys went in to create this record?
Not so much. I mean, we've been doing this band for how long? 15 years or something now. Yeah, 15 years. And when we first started, it was all kind of electro clash, and then a couple of years later, it was all indie disco, and then the EDM thing kind of took off here in the States, and that became huge, and dubstep and trap, and we've sort of seen a lot of genres kind of come and go, and we've been lucky enough to have a career sort of through all these different eras of dance music. So we've never really taken too much notice of what's going on. I mean, of course, we're music fans, so we like to check stuff out. But I don't know. We're trying to sort of run our own course and not be too sort of influenced by the style of the day.
Right. And creating this record, you guys had a couple features as well. One of them in particular I was excited for because to me it's a new artist that I've been excited for, Alison Wonderland. Can we talk about this track with Alice and the co-writes that went behind it? Because you guys also included Oak for this record as well, right?
Yeah, he wrote on that. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we both do a lot of work outside the band. Obviously, Kim does a lot of production and a lot of solo stuff for other bands, and I do a lot of co-writing with other acts for other people's songs, other people's projects. So I got invited to go to Bali in Indonesia. They had a big writing camp there, and I go there every couple of years just to write songs for other pop stars, you know.
Yeah.
And this time around I thought, well, maybe I can go as the presets and see if people want to try and write some preset songs for us, because we've never done that before. So we sat down with Oak and some other writers, and we wrote a bunch of songs, and that one really kind of stuck out as something cool. But it was funny, after I recorded it, we took it home. Kim and I then really went to town, totally rearranging it, totally putting our own spin on it and making it something completely new. And then it didn't really, for me, it just didn't feel like it really suited my voice. It just felt strange having lyrics that were co-written by someone else and having me sing them, because we've never done that before.
Right, first time.
Yeah, so then so Kim and I came up with the idea that maybe we should get a girl to sing it. I think Kim suggested it, and we thought Alison would be great because she's a fan of the band, and we love what she does, and you know, we have some sort of mutual friends back home. So yeah, she was really keen to do it, and she smashed it.
Right. You guys also had another track with DMA, MDMA. I can't. DMA.
Yeah.
I always mess up their name, but like this is a band that you guys collaborated with. So how different was that collaboration in the studio?
Yeah, it was like Julian said, even with the co-write that he did in Bali, it was again something that we hadn't really done before, but it was relatively easy because I was working on producing their record at the same time we were finishing Hi Viz, and we were up at the studio one day. I was up at the studio with the DMAs one day, and we had this one track lying around which we'd had for a couple of years, and we hadn't really tried to put any vocal on it or whatever, and I thought, just given what I was getting off those guys, I thought that they might appreciate it. So I played it to them, and they were really sort of smitten with it, and they sort of offered to help, put a vocal on it. Right. So they came over and just put a couple of ideas down, and we ended up like fleshing out chorus ideas, and it was all of us in the studio together, throwing around vocal ideas and stuff like that, which was really fun.
It was organic.
Yeah, it was really organic. It was really fun, and it was also really refreshing because Julie and I had been working on this material for a couple of years, just the two of us, and when we started opening up the doors to just get other people in, just a bit of freshness and stuff, it was really exciting. It really helped us propel towards the finish line. Yeah. So it was a really good exercise on a couple of levels. Why
didn't you choose to do co-writes or collaborations like that in the past? Is it you guys wanted to fully focus on the presets, or was it something inside that you guys were against it?
We weren't against it. I guess we just sort of had too much of our own stuff that we wanted to say, and we had a lot of ideas. We've never really needed. I mean, we have done a couple of co-writes in the past. Just loose things like one or two songs where we've had a friend in the room with us playing bass, writing a song with them or something like that. But we've generally, like 95% of the stuff we've ever released, we've written just the two of us. And yeah, I guess this time around, like Kim said, we just thought it would be interesting to throw the doors open a little bit and see what some other people could contribute. And it really paid off.
Now, this record, did you guys create it in your home studio as well? Did you guys go somewhere else to do it?
We did the vast majority of it in our home studios, and then there was a couple of bits and pieces we did in other studios, and the majority of it was mixed by a guy over in Vermont, I think. Well, Virginia Beach, something like that.
A V place.
New York.
So you're on the right track.
Yeah, it's definitely in the US. It's on the East Coast.
We made most of the record ourselves in our own studios in the way that we've done for years. Yeah.
So when you guys decided, hey, let's create our own home studio, like, what did you guys have to have in that studio, and why did you guys have to have those specific items in the studio?
Well, I was really interested in having a control room where I can sort of sit and record stuff, and then also like a little live room where I can record instruments and things like that. That was really important to me because I'm a drummer, and also it was really important that it was cut off from my neighbors and stuff like that, because growing up as a drummer, notoriously pissing off neighbors. So having something that was like I always had this idea like, I can work till 3 a.m, and I do occasionally, so that was really important. And then, there's way too much equipment in there, it's too much shit. Yeah.
And for you?
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, you always start with, when we got our first record deal many years ago, like 15 years ago, you get a record advance, they give you a chunk of money, and most bands back then would go to a studio to spend all that money and make a record and then come out with a record. But we were always adamant to, use that money to buy our own gear, and build our own studios. So over the years, we've been able to do that more and more, which has been great. But yeah, you always start with a computer, a laptop, and then you need this toy to go with it, and then you need this toy, and then you need this EQ, and then you need this synth. It kind of never ends.
You guys are still adding new things to it, but the space is getting smaller.
I finally reached the point where I'm like selling stuff. Because it took us 6 years to make a record.
Now, with this being record number 4, what was the biggest challenge in creating Hi Viz?
What was the biggest challenge? I don't know. I guess we were just trying to stick to this, really fundamental idea about having fun and trying to figure out what that meant. And we maybe one of the biggest challenges was because we took so long, we had heaps of material to choose from. Right. So being able to sort of go through and edit that down to things that really stood the test of time. And one of the benefits of taking a few years to make a record is that the good things really do stay at a pretty good level. Right. Everything else sort of drops down.
It becomes apparent like which one is actually good.
Yeah, totally. So it was a bit of a waiting game. There was quite a bit of patience that had to be sort of found. That was definitely a challenge.
And for you?
Yeah, that's the thing. The patience. The hardest part I find is, music. Yeah, it's our business, it's our work, but it's also our love, and our art. And when you're carrying these albums or these songs around in your head, you need to get them out, right. And it can be difficult to carry it all in your brain all day long. Because even when you're doing other projects, like we did another project, like Kim said, with an orchestra, or you're doing some other songs with some other bands, you might not be working on the presets every single day, but it is always sitting there in the back of the head, So yeah, when you finally release it and it comes out and you don't have to think about it, it's a lovely feeling. Yeah.
And as far as like the writing goes, like how do you guys feel like your lyrics have evolved within these last 4 records?
Gosh, hopefully they've gotten better. I think surely, I don't know. I would think every band maybe every band looks back at their old songs and sort of cringes a little bit. I do, but maybe they don't. Maybe most bands don't. But I don't know. Hopefully we're getting better and better at writing songs, and the lyrics are meaning something more and more. I mean, it's funny, especially lyrically, I guess. Lyrics, if you're being honest with yourself at the time, they tend to, be about that point in your life, and going back and listening to old songs, or even watching old music videos or listening to our old tracks. It's almost like looking at photo albums. You see different parts of your life, and songs you wouldn't write today as a 42-year-old, you're happy to write as a 26-year-old. Yeah.
As you look back at those songs, obviously when you wrote them, like you said, you were feeling something at that time. Do you still feel that something when you listen to them today, or when you perform them live, or has that feeling kind of disappeared? Or
yeah, no, definitely. There's always like a kind of kernel of the energy that's like there, and it can be quite invigorating. Like especially when we play My People live, for instance. It's kind of maybe a little bit of a challenge for us at this point in our lives to kind of go and create something like that. But when we play it, it's there and we connect with it, and it's deep inside us, and it's sort of like an energy level that's far and above a lot of the other things that we've made. Right. So there's always like this kind of connection, like an old friend, like a relationship.
Yeah, totally. Now with the 12 tracks that are on the record, do you feel there was one particular track that challenged you guys the most, almost maybe didn't even make it to this record?
Easily. There's one song called Do What You Want, which was our first single off the record, which was something that, when we were writing the record, we were really just looking for that one track that would kind of launch the album. Yeah. And it was hard because until we really had that, we didn't really know how the rest of the album was going to kind of fall into place, or how the rest of the material was going to fall into place.
So an album didn't exist when this track was kind of like created.
Well, the album kind of floats around like in the universe, bits and pieces just floating. And
I see number 5 somewhere up here.
Yeah, totally. But until you get that first bit of the puzzle, and to put it bluntly, it's the opening single that the record label wants and needs. Right. The rest of the thing, like Kim said, nothing it can't fall into place until you've got that little bit. Yeah, so that was one of those tracks that we came up with the initial idea in about 5 minutes.
Wow.
And we're like, wow, we've got it. We love this song. It's so easy. Like it's so fun. And then it took us a couple of years to finish. There's like 70 versions. And at one point we were going to turf it, and chuck it away. But we sent it to our manager saying, I don't know, there's also this song. What do you think of this? Like, we kind of hate it. We're over it. But, should we pursue it? And they were all like, yeah, you should pursue it. That's the opening single.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Crazy.
So, but it felt good to knock it on the head.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, and as producers, obviously, you guys are adding a lot of sounds, a lot of different instrumentation to your records, to your tracks. What's too many layers? Is there such thing?
Yeah, definitely. And you don't really know until you finish the record and you start playing it live.
Yeah. Like we gotta redo this.
Yeah, totally. It's a really hard thing to do, and I think it's easy to keep adding layers to something, which in a way to kind of improve it.
Yeah.
And a really good idea just doesn't need that many layers to support it. But it's tricky, especially in this day and age with technology. You can record and record and record at home. You can loop record. There's no end in sight. So you can kind of just get stuck in a bit of tunnel vision with your ideas and kind of just keep throwing shit at the wall. Well, sorry, I keep saying curse words.
You're good. Be yourself.
Way. It's the Aussie way. But it's true. I mean, most production, it's building things up, but then it's reducing. You've got to be a reductionist, taking things out and seeing how much you can say by having as little sounds going on. That's why I guess stuff like trap music and so popular, and techno, so popular and so works so well, because it's not much happening at all, but it's all really tough and strong.
There's not that many artists today that kind of have the similar sound to you guys. If I can put anyone, I would say maybe Justice gets close, because it's like that whole dance vibe. Yeah. Everyone else has gone to completely different directions. But being that you guys are kind of in your own lane, like, do you feel like that's challenging, or do you feel like that's easier?
It's kind of, I think it's both. I think it's a double-edged sword. I think it's a challenge to sort of stay relevant, maybe. It's easier for us to just say, well, that's who we are, and it's good for us, and it sort of works so far. And I think that what we really do try to stick to is just like a very clear idea of what the energy is going to be all about. But certainly when you turn up to a festival like Life is Beautiful, and the 3 acts after you are all just like head-banging trap music, it's sort of just like, hey, how do you compete?
Yeah, it is hard to compete with that stuff. I mean, I don't know. If we were smart, we would probably be working with all these hot producers and just making tracks, dance music du jour, dance music of the day. But we're not smart. We're dumb.
Well, I mean,
it's hopefully a life well lived.
But would you feel your passion would still be there if you were working with these mega producers and constantly touring and constantly doing stuff?
It's absolutely not. Like, I think the reason why we're still here, we still have a career, is because we don't do that thing, and
you're on your own terms.
Yeah, exactly. It's I think you just got to kind of deliver what you do really well and just sort of try to package it in different ways. And hopefully we're still learning and still discovering. Yeah.
Now, lastly, your vocals are incredible. Did you decide when you guys kind of created this project 15 years ago, did you decide this is how I want to sing? Did you just naturally start singing that way?
That's very nice that you say that. Thank you. When we first started, we thought we would just be like producer dudes, and we would get other singers in to come and sing, like every electronic musician does, right? And so I would just sort of sing the songs as we were writing them, just as guide vocals. And somewhere along the line, Kim suggested, or maybe one of our record label guys said, "Why don't you sing the songs, Jules?" And but it's weird because I still don't think of myself as a singer. I'm just like a musician, and I still actually feel more comfortable just playing keys and being a techie dude, so it's weird. I still don't think of myself as a singer in a band. It's a weird thing.
I wonder if one day you'll ever feel that way.
Well, you think of great singers in bands, like oh God, what, a million bands and a million great singers, and I still look at those guys and think, wow, they're real singers. I'm just a guy that just yells in tune, you know.
Well, it works, so don't change it.
Oh, okay.
This is why I've been a fan. It's it's the dance kind of vibe that you guys have, plus your vocals, plus all the madness that you guys add to it, all the layers. So it works perfectly.
Oh, cool.
So thanks for hanging out with me, guys. And I'm glad you guys are back in the States. What's next for you guys after this tour?
Well, we've got a bunch of summer festivals booked back home in Australia, and we're going to get back in the studio and just kind of try to get some more material out in,
6-7 more years.
We're gonna go trap music. Finally learn. No, we're gonna do some more music and just keep doing it.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks again. Great record. Congratulations with album number 4, Hi Viz. You guys be sure to check out the presets, and thanks for watching here on Front Row Live.